Project management concepts may seem tough at times, but not to worry. You have a coach who makes it as easy as ABC. Here he is to set things straight for you. Your friend, Phil.
Hey, what's up, my friends? It's Friday. Does that make any difference? I'm not sure if it makes any difference to you, but Friday is always a good time. You know why? Because it's the day that you can zero in to your PMP exam prep. Because all week you've been trying to get your project stuff done, and lots of you have not had time to focus on getting certified. So I'm usually glad when Saturdays come because it enables lots of you to study. And that's a good thing, I think, for you to be able to take some more quality time out to study and to get this done. You know, it's no good when it's hanging over your head, you know, just hanging over, looming over. It's like a sentence of sorts. So when my students are able to study, able to get traction, I like that. I like that. For those of you who've got exams coming up, I'm looking forward to hearing the great news. Better do what you need to do. Part of what you need to do was a question that came in from one of our students yesterday. Shri, thank you very much for your question. Shri has been on the journey with us for a while, and she's getting ready to put paid to this thing. So the question is, how do I read the glossary in your friendly neighborhood PMBOK guide? There are many ways you can read the glossary, and I just have a few thoughts to share with you, but I'm hoping that what I share with you will give you a pattern to think about, some deliberateness to think about, instead of beating about the bush or stabbing in the dark. So whenever you are ready to deal with the glossary, just like you might have read the PMBOK guide, I want you to apply a few simple things. I'm going to be sharing that with you today, how to study the PMBOK guide glossary. So for those of you that are new to the PMBOK guide, the glossary starts on page 698. I'm just going to read a little bit of it just so you get the context of what is here. It states, many of the words defined here have broader and in some cases different dictionary definitions. In some cases, a single glossary term consists of multiple words. For example, root, cause, analysis. So this is where you need to proceed with a little bit of caution. And the caution you need to proceed with is the definitions in the glossary are a snack in many instances, and definitely not anywhere near as big or as satisfying as a full course meal. In other words, if you open up one of the definitions and you get a very lean and mean skinny definition just to carry you along as you study, that's okay, but just get prepared to go deeper as you begin to unravel what exactly that thing is, okay? So with that in mind, you know that the glossary is not the be-all, end-all. You know that there are a lot of permutations and combinations to consider as you go through this stuff. So let's take a look at my quick steps, my quick tips for getting this stuff locked down, okay? The first step is scanning. What do I mean by scanning? By scanning, I'm talking about opening up the thing, opening up the glossary, going to that page, and starting from there, page 698, put your PMBOK guide down. You definitely want to have a highlighter in hand, okay, as you do this. I wouldn't advise that you do this without a highlighter. A highlighter is going to come in handy. So get a pack of highlighters and get ready to highlight any of the relevant words that you come across. Some words are going to be like, oh yeah, I know that. That's business as usual. Other words, they're going to jump out at you so fast from within the text. So for example, acceptance criteria. That's the first one. A set of conditions that is required to be met before deliverables are accepted. Nice definition, PMI, but do you know what? In scanning, you do not do that. You do not read the definition. In scanning, you're just going to scan through all the words. Acceptance criteria, accepted deliverables, accuracy, acquire resources, acquisition, activity, activity attributes, activity duration estimates, activity list, activity on node, actual cost, actual duration, adaptive life cycle, affinity diagrams, agreements, alternative analysis, analogous estimating, analytical techniques. So at this point, I'm going to get my highlighter and I'm going to mark down analytical techniques. And that takes me to another step that I'm going to show you very shortly. You could do these in parallel. You got crunch time, you're going to do your scan, and you're also at the same time going to be creating a list of what you are not entirely sure about. You see? So step 1, scan. Step 2, high-level review. So you're going to do a top of the waves review of all of these items that you're coming across. So after you get done basically reading each of these items, you read them from the first one from A to Z to the very last page where you have the final item that begins with the letter W. I can bet it begins with W because I've been here before. I told you. I know my guide. It's work performance reports. WPR. That's on page 726. So when you've done your entire scan, you then go back, okay, to do your high-level review. But guess what? As you were going forward, you were highlighting items of interest. Okay, so I highlighted analytical techniques. Why? Because guess what? As I'm coming back on my next go-round after my high-level review, those things that at first jumped out at me, I want to have a backlog of those items. Okay, so the third step after you've done your high-level review, which is pretty much going through the top of the waves, okay, study the top of the waves. For example, let me show you one here. Let me look for a beefy one. Page 709. You see, something like this, iterative life cycle, it's quite big. So I might just read the top of the waves, or if you have learned how to speed read, this is where you would speed read. Okay, so your high-level review is a top of the waves read. I am not recommending reading every single thing here word for word. No, it's a top of the waves read. Okay, and like I said, your top of the waves read should be followed by creating a backlog of what you most certainly do not know. So if you go through the content, you're like, wait a minute, that one, I definitely need more work on it. You see? So you got many opportunities to identify things to go in your backlog. The first is right off the bat as you do your high-level review, going through all of that stuff. And also as you do your scanning, you're going to find things that you highlighted. All of those things, put them in the backlog. Okay? And after you get your backlog, you're going to prioritize that backlog. Because there are some things that are just absolute showstoppers. Like for me, anything that is a PMI input, tool, technique, or output that I don't know is immediately at risk. Those things, I definitely want to put them down, and they become top priority for me because they're part of the sacred cows, if you will, of the PMI. Let me show you one that's not a sacred cow. Page 719, the first entry there, RFQ, that's cool, it's good, it's important. but it's not one of the sacred cows. It's not one of the ITTOs, one of the ITTOs that's in your face. This comes under organizational process assets in some way, or procurement documentation rather. So that would be, the one I would focus on the more. But stuff that are not ITTOs, for me on my first iteration, I would definitely not prioritize those. The ones I would prioritize are the things I've seen and don't know, you see. So your prioritization, however you wish to prioritize, just do it your way. Okay? So Shri, I am hoping that you are going to watch this eventually. I guess you're probably grinding at the mill trying to get the final hours of work done for the week. But when you do watch this, do prioritize, okay? There's a lot of stuff in the glossary which is all well and good, but not every single bit of what is in the glossary is going to be your first item of attack. For me, my first items of attack are things that I've seen as ITTOs and do not know, okay? Then my second line of attack would be those things that I've seen and are somewhat important to the process, somewhat important to me understanding how a process works. But ultimately, just do it your own way, okay? After you have prioritized, the next step is a deep review. So those items that you've prioritized, do a deep review, okay? But don't just jump into the glossary and start mowing everything down. That wouldn't be the best way. The best way is to at least get some sort of priority about what you're going to hone in on. Because guess what? This is the beginning of gap finding using the glossary. You need to take those gaps and then you need to beef out what you have identified as a gap. And that will take you to the index. So if you go all the way to page 727, suppose you find an item you don't know, trace it back to the index for your deep review. So this deep review I'm referring to is gonna use the index, okay? You're gonna find out where all of those things are and you're gonna hunt them down. And you're gonna get them in your head. That's the way it works. That's the way you should do it. Okay, so there should be some level of order or structure as you study the glossary. I've heard this from so many students. Thank you, Phil, for telling me I should study the glossary, because I found questions from areas that I didn't even know exist. There was a student that said, I got this strange word that I'd never seen before, only in the PMI, the PMBOK Glossary, or the Lexicon of Terms, whichever one it was. So I would highly advise this to be part of your ritual before you take the exam. And in closing, here are the steps. 1, you want to scan, go through everything, 40,000 foot view. 2, you're going to do a high-level review, so top of the waves. You'll go in at a deeper level, but not deep. Let's say 20,000, 15,000 foot view. Then at this point, you're going to identify, oh, I don't know that. I should know that. Oh, wait, I'm drawing a blank on that. And part of the ritual could be, I play this game with myself. If I'm reading the glossary or anywhere in the guide in a particular order, I try to preempt what is in the book by trying to define it myself. And if I draw a blank immediately, that's a clue that I need to put that in my backlog. If I cannot articulate what I'm saying, if I'm drawing a blank or I'm just not able to fine-tune my thoughts, it's definitely a red light. All right, so that's how I put the backlog together, those kind of things. Then you're going to prioritize the backlog. Then you do your deep review and you reference the index. And then you go back and continue until you've got everything under control. All right, so Shri, I hope this helped you. That would be my suggestion. I wouldn't just read the glossary at random, but even if you just read the glossary at random, that is not a bad thing. It's better than not reading it at all. Hey, we have one of our friends here, Kareem. Woohoo! Kareem, congrats to you, my buddy. Kareem says, pass the PMP. Lots of thanks to your content. Appreciate the help. Well, thank you, Kareem, for letting me know. You know what to do? If you could do me a favor, I'd like to know how you were able to kill this beast. So Kareem, why don't you drop me a line there and let me know how you did it? How many hours a day were you studying, Kareem? And Kareem, do me a favor. I've got something I need to send you. And don't worry, it's not more work. Do me a favor and just shoot me an email to this address. Gonna hook you up with a little something something for your efforts and for being a great student. You see, that's really what we're looking for. We're looking for you to tell us the great news, because there's a lot of bad news where this exam is concerned, folks. Did you know that I get a lot of emails about people telling me about their failed attempts and asking for help. So when we get good news like what Kareem has shared, it goes a long, long way to encouraging those who are on the line that they can do it. Rodriguez, thank you very much. Rodriguez is congratulating you, Kareem. So we all celebrate your success. It is always great news to hear that someone has gotten this monkey off their backs. You see, there he is. Do you have anything to say to Kareem, Pimpy?
Yes. Kareem, I'll be waiting for you at PGMP.
Kareem, you hear what he said to you? He said he's going to be waiting for you at the PGMP. I don't know if you have any comeback to that, but Pimpy seems to be growing wings and expanding his tentacles. I think he's trying to intimidate you, but don't be intimidated. Rodrigo, I'm wondering, are you on the journey as well? And tell me, do you have any questions? Because that's why I'm here. You know, I'm always here to answer questions and add value. So if you got any questions before we conclude the call, it will be nice to have your questions. But Kareem, if you're still on, I would love to know how you were able to do it. Oh, Kareem says, great to be done and lifting that weight. Absolutely, Kareem. I can't imagine. You know, like for me, it was the never-ending cycle of PMP prep. Every Saturday, unfailingly, I would show up in the library to grind at that mill, just keep on churning that ridiculous third edition. You see, I had a problem when I studied for my exam. In as much as I had some guidance, my mentor did not know that the PMBOK guide that was most current was not the guide that the exam was based on. For example, imagine the 6th edition came out in September 2017. Can you imagine someone studying that edition instead of the 5th? So it threw me off completely, and I was struggling to get back online with the 2nd edition, which is what my exam was really based on. So it was a struggle. I had already gotten to chapter 3.5 before I realized this is wrong. It's the 2nd edition. And I feel sorry for a lot of students, because some students say, oh, okay, this one's cheaper. This edition is cheaper. This is the one I'm going to read. Oh my goodness. Don't do that, students. Run away from the 5th edition. Of course it's cheaper. No one wants to use it. But those bad people out there, they're going to try to sell you the 5th edition. And speaking of, this is my comic. It's called Project VBX11. Okay? Those of you who are friends of Phil and not foes, I want you to go to Amazon and pick one of these up. So Mahanad, thank you for picking up a bunch of content via Amazon. I've been seeing your handiwork. You've been following a lot of those books, reading those books, mowing down the content. I am really looking forward to some great news from you. My other friends who are PMP certified, hey, this is a comic, okay? There's nothing to be afraid of. Take a look. It's a comic. It's an illustrated comic book, okay? There's nothing scary in this. This is pleasure, okay? It's called Project VBX11. It's about a military operation, and I think you'll find it interesting. Just have it in your library as references from your buddy, one of your trainers. If I trained you, your buddy Phil, okay? I think it's reduced to a ridiculous $2.99. Yeah, on Amazon. So Project VBX11 proves to be fun. Okay, go get yourself one. All right, any other contributions? Fabian, how you doing? It's always good to see you, and I'm looking forward to you coming to the boot camp tomorrow. I saw that you had signed up, and Fabian, in your case, we got some business to talk about, because I believe your next one is going to be free because you actually did overpay. So you're going to get the next one-day boot camp after tomorrow. You're going to get it free. But tell me, Fabian, how is your studying coming along? Are you really doing what you should? You cracking open the book? I know you do long hours, but I'm just wondering how your studying is coming along. Are you moving volume, Fabian? Chat into me. Tell me. Are you moving volume? You got to move the volume. I see Shri is on. Shri, good to see you. Without Shri, we wouldn't have this session. So Shri has motivated us to go look at the glossary, you know. And like I said, a student of mine said, Phil, there was a strange word that I came across. I'm so grateful I read the glossary. So Shri, more power to you. Thank you very much for asking this question. So Shri, let's do a buy one, get one free. Why don't you ask a second question? Because I know you're a student of the PMBOK guide. I know you're always trying to unravel the mysteries. So why don't you ask another question, Shri? I know you're never short of questions about the PMBOK guide or about your friends at headquarters. A little bit of trivia. Do you know that not every question on the PMP exam is entirely equal? Think about that. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. Shri, while you're at that, if you can tell me how your studying is coming along. Have you covered the knowledge areas? Have you covered process group? Let me just show you this really quick, because I want to make sure you guys are doing what you're supposed to be doing. You know, I want to make sure you're doing it right. I really hope you're doing it right. I'll share this with you in a sec here. There is some stuff we need to take care of as we study. I'm just going to show you right quick here. So by this time, folks, okay, those of you who are on the LMS and studying and so on, thank you for the well wishes to Kareem. It's really a huge endeavor, massive endeavor, and I'm really excited for Kareem. But talking about your studying, okay, knowledge areas. I want you to think about it like this. Hopefully, you guys all know your knowledge areas in your sleep, correct? Yes, you do. All right. So you know your knowledge areas in your sleep, and you know that this is, I saw 6 Cubans quietly rolling cigars, really puffing smoke, okay? So you know you've got this kind of arrangement, but this is what I'm really hoping that you're doing, and you're taking log of in some way to make this a more intentional experience for you guys, okay? Maybe in an Excel sheet somewhere. I want you to think like the PMI espouses the idea of the release plan. So you're going to think of these as iterations. Iteration 1, iteration 2, iteration 3, iteration 4. The question is, how many iterations, solid iterations, have you done of these guys over here? How many solid iterations? And you know, when I'm talking about solid iterations, I mean how many really solid? I mean that you went away knowing you carded some ammo to take this character out. How many of those have you done? Because in my mind, I'm hoping that right now you guys are around about your 4th iteration of every single one. In other words, I'm expecting to see X's in all of these boxes because I know you guys have been on a journey, right? And I really hope you are taking account. How do you know the iterations you've done? Well, let's talk about this. On the LMS, on the learning management system, you have the basic, like the basic mock. You have the 2020, I beg your pardon, you have the basic quizzes. You have the 2020 quizzes. You have the challenge quizzes. And I haven't checked your scores for those recently. Maybe I should do that. Should I go do that, Fabian? Huh? Shri, you want me to go check your challenge mock scores? And last but not least, you have the labs, okay? Some of our students are on the Praizion dot. Let me show you what I'm looking at here. The Praizion.thinkific site. So if you go to Praizion.thinkific.com, some folks are doing the outputs quizzes there, which could serve as a fifth iteration. But as far as what is on the LMS, the learning management system, and whether you're using our system or some other one, my question to you is how many solid iterations have you done? Kareem, do me a favor. Tell me, how many solid iterations did you do before your PMP exam? Why don't you just chat into me and let me know your thoughts about this iterative preparation idea, the iterative preparative idea. Oh, I missed all of your chats. Okay. Oh, you're welcome, Shri. So you covered all those pages. Okay, you're doing it by knowledge area now, Shri. That's good. Okay. The labs, you can do them all day. So Shri, you do know, have you done the challenge quizzes, Shri? I'm now getting into your business because I'm now asking you, trying to make you accountable, Shri. But I know you don't play games. That's the only reason why I can ask you this. So Shri, tell me, have you done all of those challenge quizzes, 2020 vision quizzes? Where are you with those? The non-basic ones. We got the basic, okay? The basic are the ones in the PMP exam prep camp. I'm not talking about that. We've got the 2020s. I'm not talking about that. The challenge ones, okay? And not even the mocks, just the quizzes. I think for anyone studying for the PMP exam, this needs to be how you go about your business as you study. You need to do it in iterations, and the more iterations you do in an intentional, orderly, and deliberate fashion, the more solid you're going to become. So in my opinion, that is how you should be taking account of your prowess and where you are in the process. Okay? So I'm hoping you're doing it. I'm hoping you're studying in this fashion and gaining some ground. Yeah? Yes. Very good. And the 50 question mark. Exactly, Shri. Okay. Very good. Well, I will be checking your challenge quiz reports, and yeah, I'll be looking into seeing where you are on that. Okay. Those challenge quizzes are totally new. They're different. They're a different feel, but it's also a good measure, Shri, of where you are. I know we've got a lot of stuff on the LMS, but you got to start knocking it out now so that when time for your actual exam comes close, you're not going to be scrambling to do those. You're going to be like, oh, yeah, I've already done those. No big deal type of thing. Okay? So, Shri, in closing, Fabian, in closing, Kareem, I know you're a boss. What's your next step? Rodrigo, what's up? What are your next steps? So after getting PMP certified, I guess you're going to be helping people, Kareem. You've already started doing it, which is cool. Okay, so do you have any questions that I can help you out with before we round up? Anyone else got any concerns about the PMP exam I can help you answer? Anyone? All right, I'm going to leave for a minute. Let's hope Pimpy does not jump on the controls like he did last time. Maybe I'm going to have to put this character on top of my computer to watch him. Baby, can I trust you? Let's see. Let's see if Baby can guard the castle so that the evil El Pimpy does not try any nonsense. All right, Baby, I'll be back in a second. Just stay there and make sure Pimpy doesn't take over. I'm just waiting for our friends Fabian and Kareem and Rodrigo and Shri to chat in any contributions they have before we round up. So make sure you guard here. I'll be right back.
Hello, Fabian. Hello, Shri. Can you rescue me? I need to be rescued. Help me. Oh, he's coming. Bye. Actually, he's still away. Please save me from fear. He keeps me caged each day. Help. Bye.
All right, my friends. So I hope everything went well and there was no trickery from that creature. He's still behind me, so that's always a good sign when he's where I left him. So any questions or concerns before we hop off? Shri said, Phil, do you recommend taking your marathon mock a week before up? No! No, Shri. A week before is too late. A week before is too late. Let me tell you why. Because the marathon mock may necessitate several attempts. So it may necessitate you taking it many times to really cover the full gamut of the questions. I wouldn't recommend taking it so late in the day, Shri. I would recommend taking it at a minimum 2 weeks. Or I should say at a minimum 2 weeks before your actual exam. If you're taking it so close, actually 2 weeks is even still quite close. If I were you, I'd look for maybe 3 weeks so that I can build on it, close the gaps conveniently. You know, because with everyone's regular routine, there's a lot of stuff in your real life that could overshadow your preparation. So you want to put some buffer, some slack in there. You know, account for slack, account for buffer, both of them. So build in more time. And I would just say 3 weeks would be, for me, a sweeter spot. Because don't forget, Shri, you've got the challenge mock, which is sick. You've got the 2020 mock, which is sicker. And you've got the marathon mock, which is the sickest of them all. So if you take the marathon mock, and you know, the marathon mock has a passing score of 60%. The reason is it is so difficult, you see. So I would advise you take it like 3 weeks. So Shri, all those 3 mock exams, I would not recommend taking them too close because you want to have enough bounce back time. Okay? Cool. Well, thank you all very much, Shri, especially for your question. I appreciate you asking the great question. A lot of times we don't even regard the glossary, but obviously we can see from our coverage today that there are a lot of items in the glossary to be mastered. Okay? Any final questions in closing? So, Fabian, we're going to play with formulas all day tomorrow. Those of you that have not signed up, what are you waiting for? So if you are struggling with formulas, if you are finding formulas a nightmare, an absolute nightmare, you need to go to pmsucceed.com, folks. And you need to sign up for this training. Like I tell people, it is the price of some Happy Meals. If you have kids who love going to that place, name withheld, you know very well that that is just some Happy Meals, you know? So I advise you to go to pmsucceed.com and just sign up. What are you waiting for? You need this stuff. I don't want you playing games with your prep because some people are like, well, maybe I won't even get that many formulas. Still, you don't want to leave any stone unturned. I tell the story of a student in an agency, a government agency, who was getting ready for the exam, and I conducted classes for them. And of course, you hear these things, you know, on social media. Well, if you're taking the exam, you can expect this amount or this percentage of questions. But I was quite alarmed when this student came out of the exam and said, Phil, that is one of the worst exams I've ever done. He passed it, but of course he made it very, very loud and clear that he had a bad time on the exam. I said, why did you have such a bad time on the exam? He said, Phil, because I had a lot more formula questions than you gave me the impression I would. I didn't like that. I said, well, that's what I've heard on social media, social space, that people typically don't get more than 3, 4, 5, 6 questions. And he said, Phil, that's not the case. On my exam, I had like 20 different formula-ish questions, and a bunch of them were from earned value. I was so glad I'd read earned value, he said. But Phil, he said, you're really out of touch with the exam. That's what he told me. So ever since I heard that news, I've been trying to get my students aligned with formulas so that they don't take them too lightly. It is possible you don't get a lot, but what if you're like him, name withheld? You could get a bunch of formulas, and that's why FORMULAMANIA is advised for you to really come and sharpen that saw, for you to get these bad boys under control, these suspects on the screen, NPV, critical path, EVM or EVA if you will, quality graphs and charts, types of resource estimating, number of channels formula, decision tree analysis and EMV, basic math used in contract type questions, and stakeholder analysis. We'll take a look at the cube and see what we can deduce from that. But hey, I really recommend this to anyone struggling with the technicalities of the PMP exam. You know, that's why I put this together. Previously, we had done this on DVD in the 5th edition, but I realized that students have questions about why did you do that? How did that happen? And things like that. And I love those questions. What I really find priceless is when the light bulb, boom, comes on above someone's head and you see the expression of glee and delight. There is nothing more rewarding to me as an instructor than that. To just see people understanding. I'm like, yes, you got that one down. So that's really what the vision is behind this. It's very easy to hide behind on-demand stuff, you know, and put up a webinar that has been engineered in a particular way. Now, while webinars aren't bad, But at the same time, student questions are priceless. And a lot of people, sad to say, don't like tackling formula questions, even instructors, because they may not have studied them like they should. They may not be in the zone like they should. It takes effort to be on top of this stuff, folks. And as someone who practiced this in my real job, a lot of this stuff I practiced in my real job, because of that, it's stuck. It's like second nature to me, because a lot of my work, I want to say like 90% of my work once upon a time was scheduling till the cows came home, blowing out all of the functionality on that poor project server module. And a few years after that, I had the pleasure of working in an aero company, and my main job was all EVM. Everything. I enjoyed it so much, I ended up writing a book on earned value. So you're in great hands if you're thinking of coming to FORMULAMANIA. Let's make you a formula maniac so that you take down all of those baddies when you see them on the exam. All right? We're not here to play games. We're here to take no prisoners. Okay? So Fabian, I hope you're going to come with your performance enhancing, I don't know, coffee or tea or whatever you need to stay 100% in the zone. So Fabian, why don't you chat into me? Which of these formulas in the PMBOK guide would you probably pay more attention to than others? Or should I say, which of these throws you for a loop? Shri, the same for you. How do you feel about earned value? How do you feel about critical path analysis? Chat into me. Maybe you guys can give me some ideas for our friends for tomorrow. Well, Fabian's going to be there. So tell me, what is your dreaded formula, the formula you hate the most? Is there one? Seems like you guys are very, very comfortable with the formulas. That's good. That's a good thing. I'm always happy when you're comfortable with formulas. But anyway, tomorrow we're going to go all out. We're going to cover every single one. We're not going to leave any stone unturned. Every formula will be covered. All right. Well, if there are no questions, I want to say a massive thank you once again to everyone who joined and everyone who's watching after the fact. Don't forget to send this information to your friends. I know some of you are gurus in the formulas and you may not want to attend, but maybe your study buddy, your friend is having a bad hair day with the formulas. Please send this to them, all right? Do me a favor and hit the subscribe button if you are truly getting ready for the PMP, so that you know when your buddy Phil is going to be online. And at the same time, do me a favor and I want you to share it with someone, okay? Hit like, hit share, put it in your social media, let people know. One of the things I hate the most is people coming after the fact to me and saying, Phil, I failed. I wish I knew about you. I realize I need more support. All right? Those of you who are subscribed to the channel, your buddy Phil is saying he needs more support. I need you to spread the word. A lot of people say, wow, this is the best kept secret. Don't keep it a secret. Some people don't want their buddies to know about Phil. They're like, I don't want them to know how I passed the exam. Don't do that. Don't do that. Share the information. I know everyone's all GDRP or whatever you call it these days, but no one's going to get your information because of your buddy Phil, because they know you attended his class, okay? Anyway, thank you very much for joining, and I'll speak to you guys soon, okay? Take care and bye for now. Talk to you later. Baby, did Pimpy behave himself or did he do something bad while I was away? He did something bad. He got on your microphone. He did what? He got on your microphone. When? I was just away for a few minutes. Yes, but he got on your microphone and he was talking to Fabian.
Hey, the PMP exam is one of the most difficult tests for professionals, and we've heard this from everyone. But not to worry, you have a coach who eats the PMBOK for lunch. Here he is to set the record straight for you, your friend Phil.
Hey folks, welcome. Thank you for joining our touch point for today. We're taking a look at a question from our student Cheaton, and Cheaton has written in, goodness, a question, and the question states, I am having challenges or issues countering questions involving managed communications and monitor communications because I usually confuse one with the other and ultimately choose a wrong option to such questions. Can you please provide me any tips, tricks, or help me to keep clear about the two processes when dealing with questions about them? Okay, so basically monitor communications and managed communications are throwing you for a loop. That's really what it sounds like. And this is classic PMP exam prep. You know, I've done videos about this on previous editions where they were called other things. But today, let's hone in on what exactly the PMI says. You hear me referring to the mothership a lot. I'm talking about the PMBOK guide. So I've got my PMBOK guide here. We're going to be taking a look at page 359 so that by the time we're done, it will be crystal clear what the differences are. Okay? So let me give you a quick example of what managed communications is. Okay? Managed communications. Hey, Johnny, do you mind moving that? Or, hey, Johnny, here's the information you need. Today, we're going to be working on X, Y, and Z. Oh, and by the way, the activity that you were waiting for completion, it got delayed a little bit further. Okay? But here's the information you need. See ya. That's an example of managed communications. I am communicating with an intent to share information, be it a report, maybe give status, maybe have some sort of communications between two entities. It could be through a report. It could be communicating real time to pass across information. Now, let me give you an example of monitor communications. Hey, Johnny, do you like how I communicated with you just now? Was it effective? Did you understand what I was saying? Was the message clear, or was it kind of blurred or hazy when you were actually trying to imagine what I was really saying? And Johnny says, no, it was great. Okay, well, I'm just done with monitor communications. You see the difference? Managed communications is speaking, delivering information, sending out reports, the art of communicating with an intent to share the information as promised, with the intent to get that communication across as initially planned in planned communications management. Monitor communication, on the other hand, is check-in to ensure that the communication was clear. Check-in to ensure that your communication management plan and your communication strategy is actually working. Now, if Johnny said, no, that was horrible and awful communication, and you need to do a lot better, Phil, and your team needs to deliver this, that, and the other at a better time. I need to go back to the drawing board, find out what went wrong, and look for ways to repair the broken communication so it becomes better. Does that paint a picture for you? 1, manage communication, communicating. 2, monitor communications, making sure that your communication strategy and approach is actually working. All right, so let's go back to the mothership and let's read the details on page 359. I should actually say read the high-level blurb. This is what I would recommend for anyone if you encounter a process and you're stuck. You know what you need to do? You need to first of all go to that summary, and then you need to dig deeper if after the summary it still doesn't make sense. So let's read what's here. Managed communications, it states, the process of ensuring timely and appropriate collection, creation, distribution, storage, retrieval, management, monitoring, and the ultimate disposition of project information. So the bottom line is this: I have this information, I have these project communications. What is going to be done with them? I'm going to communicate them, I'm going to send them out. But it's the whole string of events, the entire string of events. So if someone says managed communications is all about collecting information that's needed, creating information that's needed, distributing information that's needed, storing or being able to retrieve the retrieval of the information that's needed, managing information, monitoring, and ultimately disposing of those project communications. That person will be correct. All of those pieces are important, okay? Collection, creation, distribution, storage, retrieval, management, monitoring, and the ultimate disposition of project information. Okay, that is what managed communications is. So don't be sidetracked by the word monitoring there. Okay, when we talk about it in this context, we're talking really about sending the information out. And as we're sending the information out, of course, we need to be aware of what is going on with it as it's being sent out. But let's read monitor communications. All right, monitor communications here, 10.3, it states the process of ensuring, boom, that's it. It's all about an assurance, ensuring the information needs of the project and its stakeholders are met, making sure the person got what they needed, they got it when they needed it, there was no additions, no subtractions, a-okay, spot on, it's working, it's not broken, let's keep doing it. That's exactly what you do in monitor communications. Or, my goodness, it's totally broken and we need to fix it. Okay, so that would be what 10.3 is. Now, like I said, I like going a little step further just to distinguish one from the other. Let's go to page 360. Take a look at managed communications. Do you notice that one of the outputs of managed communications is something that you do not get from monitor communications? What is it? It's project communications. Because as you're sending the information out, you're sending the reports out, that is project communications. And it either needs to be filed, archived, made available to people at some other time, etc. On the flip side, monitor communication is really just about checking. It's like a temperature gauge. How well are we doing? Did we do well? Did they get what they needed? Did they get the communications we promised in the plan, so on and so forth? All right, so that's another way of you distinguishing between processes by taking a look at the characteristic outputs of that process. All right, let's go a step further to the details of managed communications on page 379. So again, they go through that laundry list of collection, creation, distribution, storage, retrieval, management, monitoring, and ultimate disposition. But let's take a look at the key benefit, which was not mentioned before. It states, the key benefit of this process is that it enables an efficient and effective information flow between the project team and the stakeholders. This process is performed throughout the project. And that's why the project manager is drained after spending so much time communicating. This is where it takes place. People say the project manager spends up to 70 to 90% of the time communicating. So when you read this, it becomes very clear why certain project managers are drained, because they are communicating, and communication requires energy, as John Maxwell would say. It requires a lot of things, and that's why. But managed communications is really it. When you talk about the art of effective communications, this is the process where it is upheld and practiced. All right? It states the managed communications process identifies all aspects of effective communication, including choice of appropriate technologies, methods, and techniques. In addition, it should allow for flexibility in the communications activities. The bottom line is whatever works for you and your project, do it. All right? And that's why a lot of managed communications focuses on the tactics, the approach for getting that information out. Now let's read monitor communications on page 388. It states, monitor communications is the process of ensuring the information needs of the project and its stakeholders are met. The key benefit of this process is the optimal information flow as defined in the Communications Management Plan and the Stakeholder Engagement Plan. So watch this. The process of ensuring the information needs of the project and its stakeholders are met. The key benefit of the process is the optimal information flow defined in the Communications Management Plan. You're trying to optimize your Communications Management Plan. If it's not working and people aren't getting what they need when they need it, then you're going to optimize. You're going to do something different. It says optimal information flow as defined in the Communications Management Plan and the Stakeholder Engagement Plan. So both of those plans give you an awareness and knowledge of how to effectively communicate with your stakeholders. It says the process is performed throughout the project. And then it goes into the inputs, tools, and techniques and outputs. But let's go to page 389. It says monitor communications determines if the planned communications artifacts and activities have had the desired effect of increasing or maintaining stakeholder support for the project's deliverables and expected outcomes. The impact and consequences of project communication should be carefully evaluated, that's what you're doing here, and monitored, that's what you're doing here, to ensure that the right message with the right content, the same meaning for the sender and receiver, is delivered to the right audience through the right channel and at the right time. Monitor communications may require a variety of methods such as customer satisfaction surveys, collecting lessons learned, observations of the team, reviewing data from the issue log, or evaluating changes in the stakeholder engagement assessment matrix. So, I mean, this is a mouthful. It's a mouthful. It then goes further. Let's read this just to clarify a little bit more. It states, the monitor communications process can trigger an iteration of the planned communications management and or managed communications process to improve effectiveness of communication. So let me give you an example. I'm communicating with Johnny and we realize this is failure could necessitate another round of planned communications management, going back, as it were, to ground zero for this particular approach of communicating with Johnny, going back to ground zero and trying to analyze and verify what should we do differently, where did it get broken, and what are we going to do now to ensure, optimal flow of communication. And then after you have discovered what to do and you have now replanned, what do? You now execute the plan. So this could necessitate finding out that communications is broken. PMI is trying to say it could necessitate additional rounds of planning and executing, which makes sense following the PDCA cycle. You plan, do, check, act. Well, you checked now, it's broken, replan, redo, recheck. Okay? And that is pretty much what this process is. And that's it for monitor communications and manage communications. Thank you very much, Cheaton, for writing this in. I wish you all the best on the test. And all of you folks watching, remember to share this with your friends. If this is shared on YouTube, shared. If it's shared in some other medium and you're unable to share it, let them know about our program so they can come aboard and benefit from videos like this. All right? Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best on your test. Bye for now. So you heard it all from the man. He needs your support, all right? So don't keep all of this stuff a secret. I need you to go out there and let people know that Praizion exists. Let them know about Pimpy. Let them know about this clown here. Let them know about our training, all right? Especially if you've gotten certified on my watch, all right? I need you to let people know. Too many people shelling out tons and tons and tons of their Benjamins. We don't want that to happen. We want people to come aboard a system that is fair and works and delivers results, all right? I'm going to be back later on. I'll probably share a few more videos with you for the rest of the day. And we'll be talking about the PMBOK guide in general. So you might want to tune back in later on, and we might be able to have another conversation, okay? Well, from me, this time, it is bye for now. and speak to you again very soon. If you've not signed up for tomorrow's training, you know where to go. It's pmsucceed.com. We're having a 1-day boot camp on nothing but formulas. That is a rarity, where you see nothing but formulas. Let me see you there tomorrow, all right? Bye for now.